To quote one Maximus Decimus Meridius, "Are you not entertained?" Well, when it comes to Gladiator 2, I was not entertained. By the time this video comes out, it'll have been 1 month since I have seen Gladiator 2, and I still have thoughts about it. Half of them are negative, and the other half is Pedro looks really good in Roman garb. Please put him in more historical films because he's such a good actor. And then those stupid CGI sharks. So this review is going to be a bit unhinged. I'm not reviewing it as a historian. I will leave that to the experts. I'm just reviewing this as a regular history nerd, and I'm just reviewing this as a regular lover of film and also a fan of Pedro Pascal. So let's get entertained. My main issue with this film is that it really felt like the creators were really desperately trying to pay homage to the original film, but then they also completely forgot what happened in the original. Now, the original Gladiator film came out 24 years ago, and they were probably thinking, oh, people aren't going to remember what happened because that film came out 24 years ago. But people are going to be rewatching because it came out 24 years ago and they don't remember what happened. Like, I saw the film when it came out and I barely remembered what happened, so I went and rewatched it. They copied a lot of plot points from the first one. How many? Let's find out. So, both films start with a battle. Our main guy has a wife plus family that die, and then he ends up being put into slavery. Then he goes and swears vengeance on the one responsible. There's a fight in a small arena. Our main guy gets the attention from the slave owner. Main guy hides his identity, but then he gets found out, and then fights in the Colosseum happens. Meanwhile, Lucille is part of a secret ploy to overthrow the Emperor's troops that are loyal to Maximus or Marcus are waiting in Ostia to help overthrow the Emperor's. But alas, this ploy gets found out and Lucilla is imprisoned. There's a final fight between the main guy and the bad guy, so they basically copied and pasted the whole film. But wait, our main character doesn't die in the sequel, so it's not the same. But then there is an end scene in the Colosseums, and it's collected, and same. This makes me think that Ridley Scott originally wanted a sequel to Gladiator, but he couldn't for various reasons. Fun fact, in the original script, Maximus does not die. So thank whoever came up with the Maximus dying at the end of the film, because it was a really good ending. Gladiator 2 feels to me like a soft reboot, so Ridley can finally get the sequel he always wanted. Will he make a sequel to Gladiator 2? He has announced it. I highly doubt anyone will watch it because Gladiator 2 wasn't that great a film. But people did watch it. I watched it. And I only watched it because of Pedro Pascal. So when it was announced that Ridley Scott was making a long-awaited sequel to Gladiator, I had no interest whatsoever. And then they cast Pedro. Pedro. He always gives 100% in every performance. Usually he's the only good thing about the film. He was wasted in this film. He looked amazing, but his talents were underutilized. He's such a lovely man that he's grateful to be part of any project he's in, and he's excited to be part of this one because he grew up with the original film. And I fear filmmakers take advantage of his kindness. Let's look at The Mandalorian. He went from being handpicked to playing the title character in the first ever live-action Star Wars series to being a side character in his own show. And yes, I will be watching the Mandalorian film because I am a loyal Pascalian. But I warn you, if Pedro Pascal the Mandalorian dies in his own film, I'm coming for you. And so will Grogu. Like, this is my theory as to why Gladiator 2 has been so successful. Because the loyalty of the fans. Like, not just Pedro Pascal. I know there is a big following of Joseph Quinn. I don't know how big a following the other actors have. But this film was very reliant on really popular, really good-looking actors to attract fans and potential fans. These actors are talented, but they were wasted by bad writing and not enough screen time to develop their characters. Like, there was so much information given out during press tours, and we were teased with so much potential, so we were expecting so much from the film. But it didn't deliver. Like, that's another gripe I have. What happened to the days when all you were given was a film trailer and nothing else? Audiences today are spoiled by spoilers. So, as Gladiator 2 is a basic copy and paste of the first film, then Lucius becomes the Maximus character. But he's such a boring main character. I did see Paul Mescal in Aftersun, and he was good in that. But he wasn't good in this. He kind of feels more like a plot device than an actual character. I mean, what do we know about him? He loves his wife, and he's good at fighting. That's kind of it. I was thinking maybe the blandness was on purpose, so audience members can maybe self-insert themselves. Like here we have a perfect example of the strong, stoic male lead who shows no sign of weakness. And it's the perfect example of why this sort of character doesn't work anymore, because he's just so boring. I did watch the trailers when they came out because I wanted a glimpse of Petra in Roman garb, and he looked good. Then I got worried because I thought they were just going to, rewrite something important from the first film. And they did. They completely retconned the first film. Somehow, like Palpatine returning, Lucius is the son of Maximus. This makes no sense. Wikipedia says that Lucius is not the son of Maximus. This is why I had to rewatch the original film. It is never hinted that Lucius is the son of Maximus. In the original script, he is not the son of Maximus. So why for the sequel did they decide that Lucius is the son of Maximus? Now, I was too lazy to find this particular scene in the original film and edit it and to show everyone, so I'm going to recreate it with Funko Pops. I did say this was going to be unhinged. Apologies for the bad accents. I'm sad to hear of your husband's death. I mourn him. Thank you. And I hear you have a son. Yes, Lucius. He'll be nearly 8 years old. My son is also nearly 8. Maximus, you are not the father. They both have sons that are the same age. It would not fit the character of Maximus to cheat on his wife. The only way it would work is if Maximus got Lucilla pregnant and then met his wife soon after and then got her pregnant very quickly. But that is stretching it. I'm thinking for the sequel, they're kind of hoping we would forget that fact. They made Lucius a bit older and then put in that Lucilla didn't really love her husband and so cheated on him with Maximus. And then I spent the rest of the film being angry. And you know what else I was angry about? Those stupid CGI sharks. Let's have a history lesson, shall we? So, the Colosseum was built in 80 AD. They did hold mock naval battles called Naumachia, but not for a while. The first Naumachia was held in 46 BC to celebrate Julius Caesar and his conquest of Gaul in Egypt. So what they did was they built a fake lake at the basin of the river Tiber. It was large enough to have at least 3,000 men fighting 12 Roman galleys. I don't know if it was all at once. And then once the Colosseum opened, they held a Naumachia to celebrate its opening. It was mostly under the reign of Emperor Titus, 79 to 81 AD, that the Colosseum was flooded. But the water wasn't that deep, as horses and bulls could take part in these battles, so they had to create special flat-bottom boats to fit. And archaeologists also claimed that naval battles weren't held for long in the Colosseum, as it was difficult to make the arena watertight. Also, audiences quickly lost interest, and then other forms of entertainment were made available. It was during the reign of Emperor Domitian, 81 to 96 AD, that the Colosseum was reworked to have a series of tunnels under the floor of the arena, meaning it was no longer possible to hold mock naval battles. Geta and Caracalla started their reign in 198 AD, just putting that out there. Now, the Romans did have animals in the Colosseum. It was popular to have fights with animals. They were kept in storage in the Colosseum. There's evidence of crocodiles and hippos being used in fights, and they can be stored easily because they're land animals. Seriously, why are there not more creature features with crocodiles and hippos? They can be way more scary than sharks because they can actually get out of the water and chase you. Sharks, however, they can't survive out of the water for more than 5 minutes. With ancient Roman technology, there would be no possible way to bring even one shark from the ocean to the Colosseum and not have it die before a mock battle. There's only one possible way that could probably make sense. There's an amphitheater in Verona that gives historians an idea on how they would have flooded the Colosseum. So, there are basically 2 conduits connected to an aqueduct, one filling the arena with water, and then one to empty it. I'm guessing the aqueducts would have been big enough to fill and empty the arena quickly, so it may be possible, maybe, that they stored some sharks hanging out in the river Tiber and then let them go through the aqueduct into the arena. but they can only be bull sharks because they can both swim in salt and fresh water. I'm guessing the Colosseum wasn't flooded with salt water as they're using water from the Tiber. But this is stretching it. Now, let me quote one Ridley Scott. "Dude, if you can build a Colosseum, you can flood it with... Are you joking? And to get a couple of sharks in a net from the sea? Are you kidding? Of course they can." Now, I put in about 2 hours of research to find out if sharks could get into the Colosseum. This felt like a last-minute decision from Mr. Scott because, you know, nobody's going to care about sharks in the Colosseum. Nobody's going to put that much thought into it. Well, everybody is thinking about them. This overthinker put way too much thought into it, and, you know, there's a cool mock naval battle happening in the Colosseum, but no, I'm too busy thinking about stupid CGI sharks. The editing was off-putting at times. There would be instances where a character would be ready to start a scene, you know, sitting down, and then immediately it'll be a new scene and he gets momentarily confused over what time or day it is. And this happened at least twice with Denzel Washington sitting down. Kind of felt to me like they were last minute trying to cut down the seconds so they would end up with a reasonable runtime. There's no fluidity to the film and the story feels confusing at times. And as I keep saying, characters don't have the space to develop, so there's no connection to them. And you don't feel sad when they die. When Pedro got the Boromir treatment, I wasn't crying. I should be in tears when he dies. And he dies a lot. And I always cry. Except for this one. It felt like more time was given to the visuals. It looked good, apart from the stupid CGI sharks. But without connection to the characters, there's no tension when they enter the arena. Like, I should be upset that Pedro was in the arena trying to fight for his life. What they left in, some of it was stupid, and a lot of it didn't make sense. You know, they kept trying to do what happened in the first film. The scenes where Maximus has his little hands running through the wheat. So the wife of Lucius gets fridged, and then he gets bonked on the head, and then he ends up in this weird kind of purgatory that's all black and white thing that I'm guessing is purgatory because he sees his fridged wife going on the river to the afterlife. And we get a close-up of his face screaming no in slow motion, which is really too funny. Then immediately after, Lucius is conscious and he's holding the body of his fridged wife. Like, we get 3 reminders within the space of a really short time that his wife got fridged. It kind of feels like they didn't trust their audience to remember these things, and so they have to keep putting in reminders. Like, we really didn't need that black and white thing because we already had reminders that his wife was fridged. Like, he kept the arrow that killed his wife and he would look at it at times, and then that's just the simple reminder that she's dead. But we needed it because it happened in the first film. Now, in the first film, Maximus was having these things where he's in the Elysian fields. Like, it made sense in the first film because Maximus was wanting to join his family in the afterlife. Whereas in the sequel, Lucius doesn't join his wife in the afterlife, so he seemed more intent on revenge than anything. If they cut all the black and white purgatory stuff, then we'd have more runtime. And while we're on the subject of cutting scenes that don't make sense, I have another one. So it's a scene before the mock naval battle with the stupid CGI sharks. So all the gladiators are doing some rowing training, and I can't exactly remember why Lucius was being punished because he was being made to do all the rowing by himself. Maybe he wasn't being a team player. I don't know, his character is inconsistent. So anyways, he's spending all day doing this rowing, and then there's the scene from the trailer, all that cliche dialogue is done. But then in the next scene, with the mock naval battle with the stupid CGI sharks, he's not rowing. He's out in the front of the boat giving orders. I'm sorry, what was the point? What was the point of making him doing all that rowing if he wasn't going to do any rowing? Did they just want to have him shirtless? I don't know, he's shirtless for half the film, so I don't know why. Like, yes, I'm nitpicky, but I can't help it. Now, if I was in charge of the film, like, an unlikely event, I know, and I'll never do the film anyways, but if I had no choice, if they said, do this film and you can do your wholesome werewolf romance film, then fine, I'll do it. Then this is what I'll do. I would make our main character Marcus Acacius. Not just because it's Pedro and he's always been leading man material and he needs to be in every film, but he already has the connection to Maximus without needing to completely retcon the original film. Like, it's barely mentioned in the film, but during the press tours they kept going on about how Marcus trained under Maximus. So there, we have our connection. Like, so to start the film, we use the same opening scene from the original film, but You know, change it to a young Marcus, CGI a young Marcus in there, and then have a Maximus stand in, have the arm patting young Marcus on the shoulder. You know, and then we can go through a series of other battles, and Marcus becomes general. And people can make comments saying how Maximus would be proud of him. Like that. Lucius. He would be my bad guy, as he's 8 years old in the original film, not whatever age the sequel brainwashed into believing. So he's young. He's not ready to be emperor yet. He's going to be put into emperor training while the senators take over or something. I'm not really focusing too much on historical accuracy, but Ridley Scott doesn't care about it, so Lucius, he wants to have the same glory as his grandfather, but he doesn't want to become evil like his uncle. He's growing up, learning to be emperor, and yet he keeps hearing things about how great General Marcus Acacius is getting. And he gets jealous. So he wants to conquer all these places his grandfather conquered. But, you know, they've already been conquered by Marcus. And then finally, he comes of age, and he has plans. Okay, now that I am officially in charge, let's do some conquering. Actually, we're on a break from conquering at the moment. What? Yeah, we've done a lot of conquering lately. So, this place has been conquered? Yep, I conquered that place. In this place? Yep, I conquered that one too. How about this place? That place? Oh, that place? That they have no resources that are useful to us here in Rome. Well, I'm in charge, and I say go conquer it. But that place is peaceful. I don't care. I'm emperor now, so go conquer it. Now? Now. Can it wait? I kind of want to go on my honeymoon. You got married? To who? Mom? Meet your new dad. Him? Sorry, do you mind? Oh yeah, sure, yeah, let's go. Him? He's got nice knees. Him, of all people. You are old enough to be emperor now, and I have been a widow for a long time, so why not now? I'm not saying no to Pedro Pascal. So that was just my lazy attempt at making a plot. But do you see how much more of a dynamic that would have created? So, The Wicker Man came out in 1973, and it's considered one of the most significant folk horror films, and is still considered a really great film. Not many people realize that there is a sequel. The Wicker Tree came out in 2011. I haven't seen it, I don't know what it's about, I have no interest. I don't know anyone else who has seen it. All I know is that there's a tiny Christopher Lee cameo, but that's kind of all it's remembered for. It's just become a forgotten film. It's very rare that a sequel that came out decades after the original film is successful. There's a few outliers, but those films mostly rely on the nostalgia. Gladiator 2 seems to rely on the nostalgia of a film that was way better. And they probably knew that, so they relied instead on spectacle and a star-packed cast to bring in newcomers. But really, all the film is going to be remembered for is your favorite actor looking really good in Roman garb and stupid CGI sharks.